There are 8 ways you are lowering your own status every single day, and you have no idea you're doing them. You do them at work, in meetings, at coffee shops, at dinner with family, in front of your boss, in front of strangers, in front of every person who has quietly decided how you deserve to be treated. You think they're harmless. Some of them you think are polite. You think they make you likable, a good listener, the kind of person a room enjoys having around. All 8 of them are broadcasting the same signal to everyone around you. This person does not hold their own ground. This person belongs at the bottom of the table. You've been broadcasting that signal your whole life. In every room, after this video, you'll hear it, and you'll know exactly how to change it. The 8th one is the root. It feeds the other 7. Stay until the end, because without it, the first 7 never actually get fixed. Here's how status actually works. Most people believe status is something other people hand to you through accomplishments, titles, credentials, or the number in your account. It isn't. Status is something you assign to yourself through behavior, and then the room either agrees with the label you just put on yourself, or it doesn't. If you carry yourself like someone who belongs at the head of the table, people treat you like someone who belongs at the head of the table. If you carry yourself like someone grateful to be let in, people treat you like someone who just got lucky. Machiavelli teaches you a lesson most of humanity never learns. Status is not a title, not a position, not money. Status is a signal, a frequency, and every second you stand in front of other people, you are broadcasting information about where you believe you belong. Nietzsche adds the second blade. In every crowd, there are 2 kinds of people, the ones who set their own price, and the ones who wait for the crowd to price them. The second kind is called the herd. The herd never knows it's the herd until someone points it out. I'm about to point out 8 ways you've been standing inside the herd, starting with the first one, the one you just did in your last conversation. The first behavior. You nod too much when someone else is talking. The continuous nod, head going up and down the entire time someone has their mouth open. Not a deliberate nod at a point that earned it. An automatic nod. One that started the moment they opened their mouth and hasn't stopped. You think this is active listening. You think it shows you're paying attention, being respectful. What it actually transmits to everyone in the room is real-time submission. Your body is applauding before your brain has even processed what they said. The room reads that signal instantly, not as attention, as eagerness to please. Think about the last conversation you had with someone you respect. Was your head moving the entire time? Did you nod at every sentence, every pause? Now think about a conversation with someone you weren't trying to win over. Did your head move the same way? It didn't. Because the nod isn't about agreement. The nod is about hierarchy. You nod up, you stay still across, and every person watching knows the difference. Now picture someone sitting in that same conversation whose head doesn't move. Their posture is settled. Their eyes are present, but their body isn't performing anything. They look like someone processing, evaluating. And when they do nod once, deliberately, at a point that genuinely earned it, that single nod lands like a verdict. The speaker feels it. The room feels it. Because it was chosen, not automatic. Their agreement carries weight because it isn't given away for free. Machiavelli writes that a wise prince listens to his counselors, but withholds his judgment until he has decided alone. Automatic agreement has no value. Agreement that must be earned is authority. The nod given for free is the nod no one needs. That's the first behavior. The second one, you do with your voice, and it's even cheaper. Behavior 2. You laugh when nothing is funny. The anxious laugh. Laughing too hard at your boss's flat joke. Laughing at your own joke before anyone else does, to give the room permission to find you funny. Tacking a small laugh onto the end of a serious statement to soften it. Giggling to release tension on a truth you haven't even said yet. What this transmits. You need the social temperature of the room kept warm. You're using laughter as a night watchman, as a shield, as insurance that nobody feels tense. But tension is not your enemy. And when you laugh at something that didn't earn a laugh, you aren't charming the room. You're working for it. That isn't charisma. That's labor. Every person in the room can feel the difference between a real laugh and a laugh doing housework for the social atmosphere. Think about the last time you laughed at something your boss said that wasn't funny at all, or the time you tacked a laugh onto the end of your serious opinion because you were afraid of how it would land bare. You turned your real words into a joke so the room would accept them. You dressed your truth in a costume so it wouldn't collide with anyone. And by doing that, you told the room your real thoughts have to wear a mask before they're allowed out in public. Now, picture the person who doesn't laugh at the flat joke. They aren't scowling, they aren't manufacturing tension, they're neutral. A small nod. The joke teller registers the absence and files it. This person's amusement has to be earned. And later, when something genuinely funny happens, when this person actually laughs, the whole room feels it. Because it's real. Because it's rare. Because it hasn't been diluted by 50 fake laughs before it. Machiavelli understood that the appearance of invulnerability is the foundation of authority. The anxious laugh is a crack. You aren't charming the room. You're paying admission to be allowed in it. Behavior 3. You fill every silence. Talking when nobody asked you to. Adding "if that makes sense" to the end of a sentence that was already clear. Adding "I don't know, maybe I'm wrong" after an opinion that could have stood on its own. Throwing words into dead air because the silence felt dangerous. A small laugh to patch a gap only you found uncomfortable. Repeating yourself because the silence after your first statement felt like rejection. Narrating your own actions. Explaining things that needed no explanation. What this says to the room: you can't sit with empty space. You can't hold stillness. You need noise to feel safe. And every extra word you throw into a silence dilutes the weight of the words that actually mattered. Think about a time you said something and nobody responded right away. What did you do? Did you sit in it? Or did you start talking again? Did you rephrase what you just said? Did you add, I could be wrong? Every word you added after the first one made it weaker. You took something clear and complete and buried it under caveats nobody asked for. Watch what happens when someone fills the silence in a meeting. They make a good point. Then they keep going. They re-explain it. They soften it. They add conditions. The room watches the point dissolve in front of their eyes. By the time they stop, no one remembers the original point. They only remember the rambling. Now, picture someone making that same point in that same room and stopping. They deliver the point and then go quiet. Their body doesn't shift. Their face isn't hunting for validation. They sit in the silence after their words, like it's a chair they own, and other people start responding, building on what was said. Because the silence gave the words room to land, room to breathe, room to carry weight. The person who holds silence after speaking looks like someone who trusts their own words to survive. The person who fills silence looks like someone performing CPR on a sentence that was already alive. Machiavelli writes that the wise man speaks rarely, and when he speaks, his words carry the weight of stones. Every word you throw into a silence is a confession that you couldn't hold the space. Behavior 4. You over-explain every decision you make. No one asked why. You explained anyway. Why you were late. Why you said no. Why you chose this and not that. Reason on top of reason. Context on top of context. By the time you stop, the room has forgotten what you decided. They only remember that you were defending it. What this transmits: you're asking for permission after the fact. You're quietly admitting your decision needs outside approval. You're telling the room you don't trust your own choice to stand on its own. Power doesn't ask permission. Power declares. Think about the last time you said no to someone. Did you stop at no, or did you immediately pour out 3 reasons? Did you say, "I'm going to handle it this way," and stop, or did you glue on 5 more sentences explaining why this way wasn't wrong? Every clause you added after the first turned a statement into an apology. Watch what happens when someone over-explains a decision. The room reads the signal in seconds. This person is bracing. This person believes that if they don't supply enough justification, the decision will be rejected. And once the room reads that, they actually start rejecting it. They question, they probe, they hunt for the cracks the explainer just pointed out for them. Now, picture someone making the same decision and stopping after 1 sentence. "I'm doing it this way." "No, because." "No, if you don't mind." They let the sentence stand alone. The room processes it as a fact, not as a proposal waiting for approval. The listener might disagree, but they respect, because this person didn't ask permission to follow their own decision. They just declared. Machiavelli writes in his work on republics, "Discourses on Livy, that states are held not by luck, but by discipline." The same principle applies to the individual. A decision is held not by explanation, but by the decision-maker's discipline in refusing to retract it. Nietzsche pushes it further. The strong set their own value onto their own actions. The weak wait for someone else to confirm that value. The strong declare, the weak justify. If something in these 4 behaviors just landed somewhere in your life, leave a single period in the comments. I want to see who in this room is starting to hear their own frequency. Machiavelli once served under a man named Piero Soderini, the head of the Florentine Republic in the early 16th century. Soderini had the title, he had the office. He had every legal authority a leader could possess. On paper, he was the most powerful man in the city, but Machiavelli watched him for years and saw the same pattern over and over. Soderini softened his voice for allies. He shifted his position based on whoever was applying pressure. He read faces before speaking. He filled silences with concessions nobody asked for. He nodded through meetings. He laughed to keep the room comfortable. He was a mirror, reflecting whatever the room seemed to want, instead of broadcasting his own signal. In 1512, the Medici family walked back into Florence. No title, no office, no legal authority, and they removed Soderini from power without a single battle. Because the whole city had seen what Machiavelli had seen years before, Soderini sat in the seat of power, but never once broadcast the frequency of it. And when someone arrived who did, the seat could not save him. 3 centuries later, Nietzsche gave this kind of man a name. He called him the last man, the one who blinks when greatness is mentioned, the one who adjusts himself to be loved, the one who lives to feel safe inside the herd. Nietzsche wrote that the last man would fill most of the rooms of this age. Soderini sat on the throne of power and broadcast the frequency of the last man for his entire life. If this video is hitting exactly what you needed to hear, type "I'm here" in the comments. I want to see who's still in for the harder half. Because the next 4 behaviors hit harder than the first 4, and the last one will break the way you see yourself. Behavior 5. You check your phone while someone is talking to you. A glance, flipping it face down on the table, holding it in your hand like a security blanket through the entire conversation. Or worse, leaving it face up, where every notification pulls your eyes off the human in front of you. You think this is normal. Everyone does it. What it transmits about you is this: something external owns a piece of your presence. You are not sovereign over your own attention. The phone has a claim on you that everyone in the room can see. In any dynamic, the person whose attention can be hijacked is the person with lower status. Attention is the most honest currency that exists. Where your eyes go tells the room what you value. If your eyes go to a screen while a human is speaking to you, you just ranked the screen above the human, and you ranked yourself below anyone who controls their own eyes. Think about a conversation where someone glanced at their phone mid-sentence while you were talking. How did that feel? You felt dismissed, deprioritized. You felt that what you were saying wasn't enough to compete with a notification. Now, think about how many times you've done that to someone else without registering the color change in their eyes when your hand moved toward your pocket. Watch what happens in a group when someone glances at their phone. The speaker stalls, the energy drops, the thread of the conversation thins. The person who glanced didn't just miss information. They just told the entire group that their attention can be bought by the highest bidder, and the highest bidder right now is a screen in their pocket. Now, picture the person who puts the phone away. Not face down on the table. Away. In a pocket. In a bag. Gone. And when someone speaks to them, their attention is complete, not performed. Real. The person across from them feels it immediately. They feel heard in a way that has become so rare it's almost jarring. They lean in. They share more. They give this person honesty they wouldn't give to someone whose thumb was hovering over a notification. Because undivided attention has become so rare that the person who gives it completely gets treated as the most important person in the room, not because they demanded it, because they gave something almost nobody gives anymore. Real, unbroken, chosen presence. Machiavelli writes that a prince whose attention can be redirected is a prince who can be manipulated. Your attention can be bought for the price of a single vibration. Behavior 6. Politeness as surrender. These are two behaviors that grow from the same root, and I'm going to present them side by side, because when you see them in parallel, you'll understand they're actually the same ritual. The first form, over-thanking. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me when the meeting benefits both of you. I really appreciate you carving out the time when they're being paid to be there. Thanks for having me when you were invited, because they needed you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. After someone did something that was already part of their job. The second form, asking permission to speak. Can I say something quickly? I have a maybe stupid question. I don't know if I should say this, but I just want to add one small thing. These two behaviors look different. One is gratitude, the other is asking permission, but the signal is identical. You just told the entire room that your presence here is a favor they granted. Their attention is a reward. Your voice needs to be approved. When you thank someone more than the situation deserves, every observer reads you as the lower-ranking party. The frame locks in within seconds. When you ask permission before you speak, you hand the veto over your own voice to other people before you've even used it. The room hears exactly that. Your opinion has been discounted before it's even been heard. You stamped the label, "maybe not worth it," on it before anyone else got the chance to evaluate it. Think about the last time you walked into a meeting, a coffee, an interview with someone you considered important. What were your first words? Was it a statement between equals, or was it a cascade of thank yous letting them know you were grateful they showed up? You set the hierarchy. You placed yourself below them, and you did it with a smile, because you thought you were being polite. Now think about the last meeting where you had a good idea. You knew it was good, but the first thing out of your mouth was, "I just want to add one quick thing," instead of the idea itself. What did that opener do to the weight of what came after? It lightened the load. It signaled to the room that what was coming might not be worth much, and the room responded exactly the way you taught them to respond. Watch the person who walks into a meeting without the thank you ritual. They might say, "Good to see you," and get to work. Their energy transmits something completely different. This is a meeting between two people who both benefit from being here. Not a favor, not a gift, an exchange between equals. Their gratitude isn't absent, it's proportional. If someone does something genuinely generous, they acknowledge it once, clearly, specifically, and move on. Same person, same meeting, doesn't ask permission. They wait for a natural pause. They speak straight into the content. There's an angle we're missing here. Or, there's a hole in this approach. No permission. No softener. Just the idea standing on its own 2 feet. The room reads it completely differently. This is someone who believes their voice belongs in this conversation. This person doesn't need to be granted entry. And once the room reads that, they listen harder, engage deeper, give the idea weight the previous one never received. Machiavelli writes that a prince must carry himself so that no one dares to deceive him or attempt to manage him. Overthanking is an invitation to be managed. Asking permission to speak is an invitation to be ignored. Both are a self-surrender before the match has begun. A prince does not thank his courtiers for attending, and a prince does not ask his court for permission to speak. Behavior 7. The composure collapse. You change your energy when someone important walks into the room. Your back straightens, your hand fixes your collar, your voice drops half a register. Suddenly you become more professional, more composed, more polished. You upgrade your vocabulary. You sit taller. You switch the topic you were already discussing to something heavier. The moment a boss, a senior figure, someone you want to impress walks in, your entire operating system reboots, and you don't notice it happening. But the people who were already in the room notice. They just watched you switch modes. They saw the version of you that existed before the important person arrived, and the version that appeared after. Now they know something about you that you didn't intend to reveal. Your composure is borrowed composure. It depends on who's watching. And the version they were getting before wasn't your best one. Or it was, and the new version is the performance. Either way, they saw the switch. A switch is a confession. It says, my standard changes depending on my audience. Think about the last time someone important walked into a room you were in. What changed in your body? Did your back straighten? Did your voice shift? Did the conversation you were having suddenly need to sound more impressive? That adjustment happened in less than a second, and every person in the room logged it just as fast. Now they know that the version you give them isn't the version you bring out when it matters. That knowledge changes how they respect you from that moment on, permanently. Watch what happens in a group when someone recalibrates. The people who were already there feel the shift. They feel the downgrade. They were talking to the relaxed version, and the performing version just replaced it. They know the performing version isn't for them. That feeling not being important enough to deserve someone's best stays. It shapes how they regard that person from that second forward. Now, picture the person who doesn't change. The CEO walks in, the senior partner sits down, the powerful figure arrives, and this person is exactly the same. Same posture, same voice, same energy, same topic. They don't straighten up because they were already sitting the way they always sit. They don't upgrade their vocabulary because they were already speaking the way they always speak. They don't adjust because there's nothing to adjust. Their signal is identical regardless of audience. The important person who just walked in registers it not consciously, but instinctively, because in a room full of people who all just recalibrated, the one who stayed still stands out. They read as an equal, not because they declared it, because their body told the truth. My composure does not depend on who's in the room. It's mine. I brought it in with me. And it stays the same whether I'm talking to an intern or a CEO. That consistency is one of the strongest status signals in any social environment, because it tells everyone in the room, regardless of rank, that they're getting the real version, and the real version doesn't blink. Machiavelli understood that a prince must appear the same to every audience. Consistency of character is the foundation of authority. A leader who changes his posture depending on who walks in just revealed that the posture was never his own. Nietzsche delivers the final blow. Become who you are. The man who fails to become himself is the man who dissolves into the herd. The moment you adjust your posture for your boss, you just dissolved. Your posture should not change when the door opens. If it changes, you just let the whole room watch the funeral of the man you were meant to be. Behavior 8. Tuning and mirroring. You mirror whoever holds the most power in the room. You walk into the room as yourself. You have your own energy, your own pace, your own way of sitting, speaking, breathing, existing. The moment someone you perceive as higher in status walks in, speaks, or shifts the energy, something happens. Your voice adjusts to match theirs. Your tempo speeds up or slows down to sync with theirs. Your vocabulary shifts. Your posture echoes theirs. Your energy reshapes itself around theirs. You become a reflection of whoever you've ranked as the most powerful person in the room, not because you chose to, because your nervous system has been trained to find the dominant signal and copy it, and you don't realize it's happening. This is the root, because every behavior in this video is a version of mirroring. You nod too much because your body is physically mirroring agreement with whoever is speaking. You can't hold silence because the dominant energy seems to demand activity, and your mirror can't reflect stillness. You laugh anxiously because you're matching the emotional temperature you think the authority in the room wants. You over-explain because you're trying to make your frame match theirs, to be approved. You check your phone because the powerful person isn't engaging you and your mirror has nothing to reflect. You overthink and ask permission to speak because the mirror can't generate its own motion, it has to wait for the source to move first. You adjust when someone walks in because you're recalibrating the mirror to a new, more powerful source. Every behavior is you tuning your signal to someone else's broadcast instead of holding your own. Watch any room where decisions get made, a boardroom, a negotiation table. Watch who shifts when the senior person speaks and who stays exactly the same. The ones who adjust posture, match the boss's tone, speed up or slow down, with the leader get read as subordinates instantly. Not because they lack skill, because they don't have their own signal. Now watch the person who doesn't shift. The one who sat down with their own energy and held it for the entire meeting, no matter who walked in or who raised their voice. That person gets consulted, listened to, given weight, not because they were louder or smarter, because they were the only one in the room who wasn't borrowing their composure from someone else. Now picture yourself walking into a room and not mirroring. You have your own tempo, your own voice, your own breathing. The senior person speaks loud and fast, you don't speed up. The powerful person speaks slow and deliberate. You don't slow down to match. You hold your pace, your volume, your energy, not rigidly, not performatively, just naturally. The way you breathe when no one is watching, the way you sit when you're alone, that version of you, the unmirrored version, is the version that carries the most weight. Because everyone in the room is unconsciously doing one of two things, broadcasting or reflecting. The broadcaster becomes the person everyone else reflects. That isn't a conscious choice the room makes. It's gravity. The person with the strongest, most consistent signal becomes the center and everyone else orbits. You've spent your entire life orbiting, matching, reflecting, tuning to frequencies that weren't yours, and every room you've walked into has positioned you accordingly, not at the center, at the edge, facing inward. The moment you hold your own frequency, the moment you stop matching and start broadcasting, the room rearranges, quietly, without announcement. People listen a little harder when you speak. They start mirroring you without realizing it. They adjust to your pace, your energy, your voice, and you'll feel it. For the first time, you'll feel what it's like to be the source instead of the reflection. That feeling is what status actually is. Not a title, not a position, a frequency that's yours, that you hold, that doesn't change when the door opens. Machiavelli writes that a prince must be self-sufficient. He listens to his counselors, but the final rhythm is his own. He does not tune to the court tunes to him. The moment a prince begins to adjust to the room, instead of the room adjusting to him, his authority has already been surrendered, not through defeat, through the quiet confession that his signal was never his own. Nietzsche closes it with one line, the one line you need to carry out of this video. Man is a bridge. You were not born to match the people around you. You were born to cross yourself, to move from the reflecting version to the broadcasting one. The mirror never crosses, because it's always aimed at where someone else is already aiming. In every room there are only two kinds of people, those who broadcast and those who reflect. 8 behaviors. 8 signals you've been broadcasting without ever once hearing them. The next time your head starts moving automatically in the middle of someone else's sentence, you'll feel it. The next time an important question is sitting in your throat, you won't ask permission. You'll speak. And there will be a very small moment, almost invisible, when the door opens and a powerful figure walks in and your body wants to adjust. You'll catch that adjustment, and you won't allow it. That is the entire difference between the old man and the new one. This isn't a video you apply tomorrow. Something already shifted while you were watching. Your brain has already started hearing the signals it's been broadcasting. Right now, in this moment, you are not the same person who pressed play. A signal that has been heard never goes back to being invisible. No tomorrow needed, no plan needed, no practice needed. The shift has already occurred. If something just moved in the way you see yourself, write it in the comments. Write, "My frequency changes today." I want to see who in this room just stopped reflecting and started broadcasting. And don't miss the next video. It matters more than you think. I'll see you there.